when you're dealing with a menopausal body, it's not like it always feels calm. Let's just highlight that for a moment. Without progesterone, calm body, it can be, a thing of the past. So what I'm curious about is if you are going through life trying to fix your problems from your head and you're not bringing the body into the conversation, can you actually get over traumas in your life? Or is the new awareness around the brain that we have to involve the body? And did that come from The Body Keeps the Score book? Is this new to us or just new to me?
These are good questions. Oh, man. I think that there has been so much conversation in the mental health field about how the body keeps the score and how the body stores trauma. And the body also stores positive experiences too.
This is true. We don't talk about that enough.
Don't.
Yeah.
And so when we have somebody coming into therapy who has a different experience of their body because of hormones or because of, different chemicals or wiring, we want to think about not just how we desensitize disturbances with EMDR, but also how do we expand positive resources and positive experiences in the body, right? Because just like I might have a trigger around, a certain color car because of an experience in that kind of a car, and that feels negative, I also might have a really positive experience around thinking about going to the beach or thinking about picking out a Christmas tree, right? And so we really are mapping the positive and negative associations in our brain, dropping them into our body and expanding those.
I'm just laughing because we haven't talked yet about my Christmas tree. My Christmas tree.
Is it positively or negatively?
It's horrible. It's horribly negative.
I just triggered you on your podcast. I'm sorry.
And anybody that knows me is like, did she just say Christmas tree? Like my closest friends are going to be like, oh my God. And let's use this as an example. We as a family can never decide on the right Christmas tree. And so the four of us argue. And then somebody has to give in. We get the Christmas tree, we bring it home, and then we put it in the stand and it never stands upright. And it literally is like becomes a family fight. So like now we know this. Yes. Now we know it. And it's become a joke. It's like, okay, it's going to take 2 hours to go get the Christmas tree. We're going to have to spend 30 minutes arguing over which one. And then we're going to all come home. And then, everybody's going to try to get it to stand upright while, we make dinner. And it's just like part of the process. So
yes, but you make a great point that there's traumatic associations with things that other people find to be positively linked in their brain, right? And so one of the things that a really skilled EMDR clinician will do for you or for people is that they will understand what has a positive link and what has a negative link, right? To help you understand how to desensitize the negative and expand the positive.
So how would I take a situation like that and make it, it's Christmas for God's sake. Like how would I make that positive? Because it is a little bit like we're going to get the tree today. Is that where EMDR would actually take you back through? Like where else in your life have you felt totally out of control and like frustrated because nothing was working?
Yeah. I mean, if the circumstance you described is hard, it's stressful. And if we have kind of a disproportionate response to that, because it's linking to other things like feeling out of control or associations with holidays that maybe came earlier, right? Then we could go back and process those with EMDR, decrease those disturbances. I kind of think about it like, since I know we're both parents, I kind of think about it like when you do EMDR, you need to have a time traveler with you that's going to go back and go to all the places in time. You need to have a scientist that's going to go like pick the data to see the different curriculum. And then you're going to have like a good enough parent to kind of go back and help these younger parts of us get reparented and kind of bring them into now, right? So I think that, if there's someone that has a trigger around Christmas, we would go back into the past prong, look at that, look at the current prong and say, what resources can we actually create around Christmas so that it feels positive? Maybe we skip the tree. I don't know, right?
We skip the tree. Her mom stays home. Yeah. So then, and just so for people who haven't done EMDR, the way that would feel to me, just using the Christmas tree as an example, and this is the way it has felt to me, is that then I'm in that situation again, and I'm strangely not triggered. Like here, I can sort of laugh about the situation because it's July, and I've still got 6 months to prepare for the Christmas tree. But I also would say that there becomes sort of this, like the situation shows up and you're like, well, that's interesting. Why is that not triggering me? And is that because we brought the body into it and we integrated the brain and the body together, and then we tied it to past memories that were beyond just that event that you may have been bringing into the Christmas tree moment? Is that how it works?
So basically with EMDR, we'd pick a target to process, right? So let's say the most disturbing part of the Christmas extravaganza is the image of the tree falling over, right? That represents the greatest
that's
disturbance.
the worst part. It is the worst part.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we would want to be curious about, we have that image. Okay, now what's the negative belief that goes with it? And it could be something like, people come up with all sorts of negative beliefs, like I'm not good enough, right? Or I don't have control, or I don't have choices, or I feel trapped. It can be around so many different things. And then we want to get curious around, okay, well, we have this negative belief. What's the positive belief we want to go towards? If you had a magic wand and you had this image of the tree, right? Yep. What would you want it to be instead? Typically, it's the opposite of the negative belief.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'd like it to stand up straight on the first go.
Yeah. And if it didn't, I would still have a positive belief of I can figure things out, or I am good enough, or I have choices. I can throw the damn tree outside, whatever. Right. And then we want to be curious about the emotion and the body sensations that go with that target image and that negative belief. Because what we're doing is we're identifying 4 pieces, the 4 variables of memory, right? The picture, the belief, the body sensation, the emotion, right? This is the blend of all the therapies I was talking about in the beginning coming together. We kind of bundle them.
Okay. So you're bringing in other senses.
All the senses, hopefully.
Interesting. Okay. So that's what makes it different from like talk therapy that I used to do. So when I was a teenager, I don't even know if you know this, I was struggling in school and I was taken to a therapist at 16 and I really liked the guy. He like totally got me. Like it was really cool. And it became this place that I would just sit and chat with him. And so I learned, hey, chatting with somebody like that feels really good. But I'm not sure I ever really made progress other than I had a really, an adult that was listening to me probably for the first time, which felt really good. So what I'm hearing is what you're saying is that we're doing that and we're bringing in other parts with EMDR so that we can have a deeper healing experience.
Yes. Talk therapy has so much value because it creates a lot of the new curriculum, the narratives, the resources, the sense of self. How do I see myself? And so when people come in and they say to me, I've done talk therapy for 20 years, but I'm still disturbed by XYZ, I know that they have all those resources already in their brain, which is awesome because we can link to all those things when we process, right? Because the brain's always looking for adaptive material. Our brains want us to feel better. They want us to heal, right? And so when we identify in the target those 4 variables of memory, like around the disturbance, around Christmas trees, right? We then now have this cluster that we're going to, process through with bilateral stimulation, eye movements, or tactile buzzers, right?
Okay.
And so we're desensitizing that disturbance of the memory and we're actually rewriting it.
So talk about the buzzers, talk about the hand, the when people do like whatever this thing is back and forth. You haven't done that to me. And then I saw something, I don't know, like 6 months ago where Prince Harry was taught from an EMDR specialist to do tap on other sides of his shoulder. What is going on when we're doing this bilateral stimulation?
Yes. Oh, you are asking a juicy question. This is kind of the hot topic right now in the EMDR community.
Oh, great.
So when Francine Shapiro discovered EMDR in the 80s, the story, kind of the fable is like she was on a walk and she noticed that if she looked to the right and left side and thought about something disturbing, she'd notice decrease in disturbance. And so EMDR was born around eye movements, right? What we now understand is that the right side, left side, the bilateral stimulation can be done by tapping, right? They call it the butterfly hug. It can be done with the tactile buzzers that buzz back and forth in your hand, right? Okay. And then some therapists still do eye movements back and forth and they have a light bar and other things like that. And then what's really, really cool is that there's a new research coming out around this theory of taxing the working memory. And so some clinicians are noticing, and there's research behind this, that you don't actually need eye movements. You don't even need bilateral stimulation. If you give your working memory a task, task, like walking around and counting numbers or coloring. Like if you give yourself multiple working memory tasks, doing those neutral tasks actually decrease the disturbance as well.
Okay, wait, talk about this because I'm a walker and talker. Like I can't sit and like chat with somebody. I have to get up and move around.
Yeah. And maybe our bodies aren't meant to sit and think, right? If we know that, I mean, think about it. People say, if you're upset, go for a walk around the block and come back.
Yep.
Right? There is something, or exercising when we're pushing on a bike, right? Right side, left side. When we're giving our body a task, it does decrease disturbance typically, or it expands a positive resource.
So when you get up and you move around, the brain has something else to think about. It has to actually, even though walking feels very like natural, the brain still has to coordinate that movement. And so it has another task, which calms it from obsessing on the thing that either the problem or calms it from being what I would call like hyper vigilant. Would that be a way to look at it?
It takes away the intensity of what is disturbing you. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I think that makes sense, right? I mean, that's kind of a more neutral thing to do. On top of the activity itself of walking, you're also allowing your brain to have like a fulfillment of movement, right? So typically when we have a disturbance, our bodies have an urge. Our bodies might have an urge to fight or flee or freeze, right? And so if we're sitting still with disturbance, that can kind of reignite a freeze response that we might have had as a kid. If we're moving, like I actually will sometimes go in my parking lot with buzzers with a client, and we will walk around the parking lot because they're able to move in a way they couldn't move before, which is part of, I think, the healing process.